Hey guys, and I'm back. Well, this video is going to be a little bit emotional for me, so just bear with me. Um, to be quite honest, it's just thinking about everything that I'm getting ready to say. It is a little daunting, okay? But this is still a part of my journey, and I want everyone to understand that the journey, there's layers and layers to this particular journey, or at least to mine. And it's going to require me to be strong and unwavering to some degree. And it's going to require myself to allow myself to heal for the most part. So my mom and I, we've had a very, very close relationship up until a certain point. I was always one of those children that would, whatever she says, it is what it is. I followed directions, I behaved, and it was what it was. As I got older, I noticed that there were some things that she would say that I would not agree with, but I wouldn't say anything either. I just kind of let her talk and whatnot. We kind of grew in that direction. She would talk, I would listen. I really wouldn't share too much of my personal life with her because, well, obviously she would not understand because she was, totally Christian and very much so in the church. Now, not her whole life. As a matter of fact, she was a downright heathen before or we would call it a heathen before she found the Lord. So, but as much as a heathen as she was as much as a Christian she is as at this point today. Once I switched around, I found out who I am, what this life is all about. I started to disagree with some of the things that she would say. So whenever she would talk about certain things and she would ask questions and whatnot, and I would be honest. I would just say, simply put, I don't know, I don't agree with this. Very tactful. There's always a way that you can say things to people that you disagree with, especially figureheads, people that are, in a role of authority, if you will. So there was this one time that I expressed how I felt. I expressed to her my new beliefs. As a matter of fact, I was so excited about what I found out that I really, really wanted to share it with her, to let her know that this life is not just what it is. This side will be over soon, but heaven lasts always. But I did. I wanted to let her know this is not it. This is not just, you get up, you live, and you die. Um, and so she expressed how she felt about it. As a matter of fact, she told me that she felt like out of body experiences and things like that are of the devil. It's dark, is, whatever the case may be. I disagreed vehemently for the most part. Again, tactful, but I just let her know, no, ma'am, I disagree. So I kind of gave her some space after that point. I decided to just, live my life. We wouldn't talk as much. I did not call her as much. I realized too, and this was all around the time where I knew that something had to change. I needed to kind of cut ties with my mom, at least to some degree, because it was a bad situation I could feel developing for the both of us, and it was doing absolutely nothing for my own healing. So one day, after maybe few weeks of not really talking, I decided to reach out to her, and I text her. I say, "Hey, mom, how's it going? Are you busy today? You have anything going on? Do you want any company?" And and mind you, nobody ever really goes over there, because my mom was a certain type of person where she just was off-putting with some of the things that she would have to say. She really, people would just kind of look at her like, okay, but she just was not, whatever she had to say, it was what it was, and it was the truth, and it was a light, and it was what it was. But if you said anything that was contrary to what she believed or thought, she kind of came off a certain kind of way, and people were just, didn't really want to be around that. So, and I totally understood that. So I was really one of the only persons or people to go over there in the first place. But being the son that I am, all loving and nice and shit, I decided to go over there. It had been several weeks, and again, the love has never stopped, and I missed my mom, at least to some degree, and I just, call myself trying to extend somewhat of an olive branch, if you want to call it that. And she told me, "You're not going to be coming over here sowing these seeds, are you?" And at that point, I was taken aback. I decided that I wasn't going to go over there. As a matter of fact, what I responded to her was, "Yeah, like the seeds that you've been sowing for over the last 40 plus years of my life." Like that, she couldn't do anything but LOL. Now, mind you, we were in text format at the time. So I decided to just stay home. So knowing that, my mom really didn't want me to come over to technically that was my grandmother's house that she kind of inherited since my grandmother passed. My mom didn't want me over there. As a matter of fact, recently I offered her to take her to lunch, and she asked me, are you gonna come over, or are you trying to go out to eat? Now, usually my mom loves for me to just pick the food up, bring it to the house, and we kind of chill, hang out, whatever. Um, but in this case, and this happened maybe last week, like Sunday, Saturday, something like that. And yeah, she was just like, "Well, if yeah, we can go out, we can go out." So that further lets me know she doesn't really want me around. Um, so fine. Then there comes my grandfather. Now, my grandfather is up in age; he's pushing 90. Um, Preacher, uh, for pretty much his whole life, nearly 60 plus years of preaching, I would say. And pastor of a church. I was the musician, minister of music of that particular church. And then eventually I just kind of cut ties. When it came to the church, he wanted to have a closer relationship with me, as did I with him. We started to talk. He started to tell me the things that he actually believed in and things that he did not. And he understood that the Bible really isn't truth in its entirety. It's been manipulated and changed and different things like that. So he understood, he knew the truth. As a matter of fact, he was in such a good, and I'm calling it a good headspace. He was seeing it. He was being more clear about the situation, about the church. I always wonder, well, when do you plan to tell the church the real truth? What he told me was, well, they're too far gone. So I'm not gonna even, to just tear up the church. But it's shit, you ain't like you got the two members in the first place. So you might as well go on and let the members know what the real deal is, instead of having them stuck to a belief system. But again, he's afraid ultimately to do that. He's married to a wife who it seems like he's afraid to do that with when it comes to her as well. She's my step grandmother. Um, but he asked me to, kind of show him how to have out of body experiences. He was interested in coming out of the body along with me. I was more than willing to help him out. I told him, gave him some hints and some tips and things like that that I use to come out of the body. As a matter of fact, I even went as far as to purchase a book for him. I purchased Seth Speaks because he loves to read. He likes literature, something that he can hold. And even though he has a cell phone and could use a Kindle or whatever, but he likes the book. So I purchased the book Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts, and I wanted him. I gave that to him so that he could read at his leisure, and he was very, very appreciative of that. I called him. This was around the same time that I asked my mom if she, wanted to go to lunch or whatever, and he basically made some excuse as to why he couldn't talk at the time. So that was fine. I get it. Usually, though, if my grandfather picks up the phone, we're going to be on the phone for hours, at least a couple of hours. So he tells me, look, I'm going to give you a call back. He hasn't called me back yet. So I felt an air of fear, not wanting to cross a threshold while he's on the phone with me, especially if he's around somebody else. It's like he's ashamed of me, and ashamed of what I believe or what the truth is. And I understand everybody has their own road to hoe. Everybody has their own journey. And I'm not going to put all that on me as if it's my fault or anything like that. It's just, but it is a bit painful, because most of the people in my life, I'm pretty much alone. I um, don't really have the support like that. Of course, my sister, that's my girl. I have my sister, which is wonderful. But everybody else, including one of my best friends, my cousin, we would call each other, we were buddies. And I could talk to him about anything. He's also Christian. And so that went left when I kind of gave him a little insight into what I believe in. So saying all that to lead me into the out of body experience that I had. So upon all of this thinking about, am I right? Am I wrong? What's wrong? A person like me, I have to. It's like I'm destined to be alone with this journey. Is that the way that it is? I I I don't know. Even right now, I don't know. But I do know that what I believe is the truth. So I came out of my body, and this is the very first time that I saw my mom. This was maybe 2 weeks ago. It was a week or so ago before me and my mom, when we went out for lunch, and I saw her, and I was like, "Mom." It's like when you're out of the body, people, you know exactly who they are. It's called resonance, and it's kind of like you just know. So even if you don't if the person doesn't look exactly the way they would look in the physical, you still know who it is. So anyway, so I'm calling Mom, hey, what's going on? So she looks, turns around, and she runs away like this. It's like she started turning around, and she went through a door. Went through my grandmother's doorway. We were because in the out of body state, I ended up in my grandmother's house, the house in which my mom currently lives. And so she walks into my grandmother's room. The light was out, and so I'm like, well, Mom, is you okay? What's going on? and she's running again. She runs away from me. As a matter of fact, when I came up close to her, I realized that she was cowering in a corner and almost like she reared back like a, I don't know, like a cat that's about to try to pounce or something, like something like that. Except she had no face. It was gray. She was all just in her gray aspect. So a part of her aspect, I've come to understand that she's afraid. She's afraid of me, considering my density and the power that I currently have. It comes to my understanding that when you're vibrating at a different wavelength that some as someone else, sometimes they don't match up, and if they don't match, then you'll get that fear, that repelling type of issue. So she had no face, which lets me know that she's still trying to find herself. She was gray in color. I mean, she's completely lost in that, lost in the sauce, ultimately. So when we went to lunch, I asked her about that. And of course, I didn't explain to her what I actually saw because it probably would have scared her to death or something to that effect. And she's, already scary. Christians are damn scary. It just is what it is, because the religion itself is based on fear. Everybody's scared of everything. So, anyways, I say, Mom, I saw you in a dream, not a dream. I say, I saw you when I came out of my body. I never really see you, but I did see, or at least I saw an aspect of you. And she said, hey, yeah, you did. What did you see? And I told her, I said, just like you were scared of me. And she was like, okay, she kind of shook her head. Okay. I am, there are some things that I am kind of concerned about, and she's said she was anxious about some things, especially when it came to her job. She didn't admit to being afraid of me, but all roads pointed to her. I mean, she was like scared, baby. When I tell you scared, the woman was scared. So that was okay. I let her talk. We talked a little bit more. I tried my best not to push the issue. As a matter of fact, I bit my lip twice. So every time I was getting ready to bring up the fact that she was faceless and the fact that she looked like weird, like a spider with four arms and just, you know what I'm saying, with four legs, and it was yeah, gray, just yeah, featureless. I bit my lip. So that let me know, okay, well, look, I'm gonna chill out. I'm just gonna take the sign or whatever sign it is and just not worry about it. So that happened. I moved on with my life. I've It's just taken some time for me to kind of get over some things. It's still difficult for me. I don't understand some people sometimes, but I get it. If I was in their same situation, I don't know how I would respond. But if religions like that are supposed to be based in truth and love, then there shouldn't be all of this discord. You feel me? So it kind of makes me understand. It continues to make me understand. This is That whole thing is BS. It's bullshit. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, until she's ready or able and willing to really open up and understand the everything about this, um, the truth. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure she's destined to come right back to Earth. Now, I have to separate myself from those types of feelings because it is what it is. It is sad. It is sad that my grandfather has decided and it's at least from what I understand. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather has things that he has going on. I don't know everything, but what I don't want to, and what I'm never going to do, is try to push myself on anybody, um, because I don't think that that's healthy for either of us. So yeah, yeah, it is what it is. Until next time, y'all.